Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ariel Aleksevich, and I'm a Sustainable Development Officer here at the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, or UN DESA. I'm joined today by two colleagues from the UN Forum on Forests, the Secretariat of which is based in UN DESA, and they've just released a policy brief on wildfires, a growing concern for sustainable development. This is part of a new Future of the World series of policy briefs that our department is releasing this fall and winter to share insights and experiences to reduce risks to make our future systems more resilient. You can read this policy briefs and more at un.org/DESA, that's DESA. But today we are focused on wildfires. I'd like to welcome our guests, Yan Lang, Program Management Officer, and Hussein Moini Mebodi, Senior Program Management Officer, both with the UN Forum on Forests. Together, they're the authors of the new policy brief. Welcome, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Arya.
Great. It's really great to have you here. If you don't mind, we have a lot to get through, so we'll just dive right in. So as mentioned, this is a policy brief about wildfires. We're seeing wildfires in the news everywhere: Australia, California, the Amazon, Mediterranean, and the impact that they're having on sustainable development seems far-reaching. Hussein, can you start off by telling us in brief about some of the patterns we're seeing with wildfires around the world? Maybe a little bit about what is driving them and the economic, social, and environmental impacts that they're having.
Thank you very much, Ariel, for this opportunity. Indeed, over the past decade, the world is witnessing the increased incidence of the uncontrolled forest fires in all continents and in many countries, no matter at which level of the development they are, in developing countries and developed countries. In April 2020, the number of fire alarms has increased 13% compared to 2019. And in Australia in 2020, the bushfire was one of the worst in the history in that region. And we have also seen in the United States, the west coast of the United States, a huge wildfire, which was unprecedented in that region. And in Nepal, developing countries, in early 2021 also, we saw the same things. It was one of the unprecedented forest fire in that region. Just 2 months ago in Turkey, Greece, we saw in the news the huge fire of wildfires happen in Turkey and Greece. In Europe, only 175,000 hectares of forest burned by wildfires, and this was more than 8 times of the average of the total area affected by wildfire during the period of 2018 and 2015, 2008 to 2015. And all these numbers really sound the alarm for all of us that this is happening everywhere, in every region, in every country. And now is the time for the international community to think about the drivers. And of course, the drivers of wildfires, there are different views, but there is almost a consensus that the human activities and climate change are the two main drivers of forest fires. Climate change causes longer-term drier reason, and also severe droughts, and it increases and adds to the global aridity. So it creates the perfect condition for having forest fires in those areas that are prone. And at the same time, wildfires also intensify and exacerbate climate change. So there is a vicious cycle that wildfires intensify climate change, and climate change also intensify wildfires. On the other hand, the human activities, especially the land use and land use change, and the turning of forest areas to agricultural lands for commercial purposes, these also affect mainly the readiness of the ecosystem to be prone to forest fires. In terms of the impacts of wildfires, it has huge socioeconomic and environmental impacts. For human being, it brings many losses, and it affects the residents and houses and the infrastructures in different cities and in rural areas. It increases poverty. It decreases the income of the people that are dependent on those forests, and it pollutes the water resources. You know that forests and mountains both are maintaining 75% of water resources. So wildfires indeed impact the freshwater resources. And in terms of the air pollution, it creates transpondary air pollution. And you can see that when wildfires is happening in the west coast of US, you can also see it in another region of the world. This year, we saw it in Canada, in Vancouver, and in Siberia. Also, we are now getting news that it goes even to North Polar. So all these create the condition that we need as international community to take concrete action and coordinated action to address these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussein, for that. And yeah, it's pretty clear that the wildfires are affecting a lot of different sustainable development goals, from our goals on not only the environmental goals, but health. So this is having devastating impacts around the world. But the policy brief, it also mentions the effects on not only the SDGs, but also the global forest goals. So I wonder if I could ask you, Jan, if you could explain to us what are the global forest goals and how those support the SDGs.
Thank you, Ariel, for your question. To fully understand the global forest goal, we have to mention the UN Strategic Plan for Forests. This strategic plan was created in 2017 by the UN member states. It aims to provide a global framework for actions at all levels to sustainably manage our forests and trees outside of forests, and then to halt deforestation and forest degradation. So the global forest goal we talked about are a set of 6 goals and 26 associated targets that lies at the heart of this UN strategic plan for forests. They are voluntary and universal by nature. They are to be achieved by 2030. They include goals on forest covers, forest governance, and also every aspects, including the economic, social, environmental aspects of forests. And very importantly, it also includes a target to increase forest area by 3% worldwide by the year 2030. So this is an area about the size of South Africa. Then regarding how global forest goals contribute to the SDGs, we just have to remember that when forests are managed sustainably, they really provide a range of economic, social, and ecosystem services to the whole society worldwide. So advancing the global forest goal is meant to foster and accelerating the progress to SDGs through this contribution of forests. And not only SDGs, it also contributes to other forest-related international commitments, such as combating climate change, biodiversity conservation, etc. Just to name a few. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. That's very interesting. And thanks to both of you for kind of telling us what the problem is and what our goals are. But as we know, because we watch the news, the wildfires, they're still happening. So Hussein, maybe I'll ask you, where do we go from here? What are the actual recommendations for what we should do as the international community that are in your policy brief?
Thank you, Ariel. Indeed, there are several actions that countries they can take at the national and global level. The most important one is to have strategies that cover all components related to fire management, and that includes risk mitigation and prevention, fire suppression, and post-disaster recovery. Indeed, traditionally there has been more emphasis on suppression, fire suppression. However, the experience gained in different countries show that it is important to look at this issue in a more comprehensive way and really to begin the work by preventing and reducing the risk of fires, and not just to confront forest fire when it happens, but really our work begins from earlier than that stage, which is risk mitigation and prevention, and then of course fire suppression, management, and eventually disaster recovery. And now with all these progress and development in technology, there is a consensus to use the technological tools and means to address and to assist in all these stages, whether prevention or mitigation or recovery, and remote sensing, even drones and fire alarm systems. These are the things that should be included in the strategies to comprehensively address forest fires. And of course, the traditional knowledge, we should not forget about the traditional knowledge of local communities and the indigenous people. They have been the one that for a long time, they have been living in forests and they know how to address the issues and the problem. So we should take advantage of the traditional knowledge of these people. At the same time, the land use management strategies is of absolute and critical importance. And that requires to consider when at the national level to develop the comprehensive land use management plan and strategy to make sure that all aspects related to climate change, sustainable forest management, and biodiversity conservation are included and clear action are stipulated. Last but not least, it is of great importance now that these incidents is becoming a global issue, a global emerging issue. It is important for the international community to facilitate exchange of knowledge and expertise and to initiate different partnerships to jointly confront with this emerging challenge and problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Hossein. That's really interesting. And I think it's really cool, like how you pointed out that we can have the innovations of drones and technology, and that we also have the traditional knowledge that can be helpful. We don't have to choose one or the other. They can be very complementary. So thank you for that. And then, yeah, and just as a last question, I want to ask you, Hossein laid out some great recommendations for supporting our forests. And in addition to government action, what are some steps that regular people can take to support a healthy forest ecosystem and prevent wildfires?
Thank you, Ariel. So I think to this question, as a regular people, we first think of how we protect forests and help forests in general. When we take actions at our daily life, for example, as a consumer every day, when you buy a product at supermarket, agriculture product or timber product, you turn back of the label of the product, see whether it's a sustainably managed forest product or whether it's a sustainable source agriculture forest product. This means the product you gained is not from the deforested areas that are producing these products. Regarding the forest affair, I think the most important thing is for people that live in the forest areas be aware and be prepared of this future hazard. It will happen in the future. It's important for us to be aware how to prevent yourself from being heard in the process, and also how to provide and manage the forest around you. This is another important issue, I think, for people that really lives near the forest area. And besides that, for normal people, we can also cut our carbon footprint, because it's important for combating climate change, which are driving the forest fire nowadays. And finally, I want to mention, now we really want to involve and promote most stakeholders and people to support forests and protect forests against forest fire and other natural disasters. Then when more people learn about forests and learn how to protect forests around you and voice your concern for forest protection, more voice can be heard, and then more action can be taken, I believe. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Yan. And really, I want to offer my deepest thanks to both of you, Yan and Hussein, for sharing your time and expertise with us. This is a really important policy brief. It's really interesting about hot topic of the day. And you all out there on Facebook, you can see this and read this policy brief at un.org/DESA. We'll also pop the links in the chat. I also want to thank our audience for watching and invite you all to another event we're having in this Future of the World series. So next Wednesday, 15th of September, we're holding a free virtual global policy dialogue on the future of work. So we'll have experts on hand to discuss workers' rights, automation, the gig economy, and lifelong learning and employment issues. You can register for that event also at un.org/DESA. And with that, I want to say again, thank you to our guests here and thank you to the audience, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.